I'm a 27-year-old male and my grandmother passed recently. In her will she left me her 4-bedroom 2-bath house. Now before my grandmother passed she was in danger of losing the house because of unpaid taxes. She asked various family members for help but none did. I was in college at the time and I had a huge student refund. She asked me for $1,500 to settle the debt. She said thank you and we never talked about it again. I didn't want my granny to be homeless after all. That was about 8 years ago. Fast forward to today, and I'm now the owner of a house in the heart of Atlanta. Prime real estate, if I do say so myself. I plan on moving in at the end of the month before doing some light cleaning and renovation. Enter my cousin and her kids. She is upset with me because I got the house. She said because I don't have any kids I should give her the house, because I'm her eyes I got the house for free. I thought she was crazy, but a lot of our family is on her side. Stating that it's hard out here for a single mother. They told me I can buy a house one day because I am an able-bodied young man. It will be harder for her because she has 2 kids. I'm like she chose to have those kids and that isn't my problem. Everyone is calling me selfish and hell maybe I am but my grandmother wanted me to have the house. Am I the idiot? Nope, not the idiot. Granny already knew exactly what was up. Where were your cousin and the rest of the family that is now on her side when Granny was about to lose her house and you were the only one to step up then? Are they all disabled single moms who cannot help? If that family wants your cousin to get the help she needs, they should totally, 100% offer her their house for use for her and her kids. It was given to you, deservedly, so it's your property and therefore your choice. She's a single mother of 2, but that's not your responsibility and you don't deserve to be guilted for it. She is still living with family who can help her out if they feel she needs more. If you were planning on moving in there yourself, there's nothing stopping you from saying it's for your future family, whether or not you plan on having one. Houses aren't exactly growing on trees, and nor is money. Like you said, she chose to have the kids, and it's not like people have zero idea of what they are getting into before they have kids either. Like others have said, where was she when your grandmother was about to be homeless? She didn't have to give money if she wasn't able to, but she could have helped through other methods too. End of the day, the house was gifted in a will, which is the last wishes of a person before they die, which means your grandmother's dying wish was for you to have the house, and likely as repayment for preventing her being homeless. There's also the fact you gave your grandmother the money for the unpaid taxes, so didn't 100% get the house for free. My dad married Linda 6 years ago. Linda had James, now 19, and Bree, now 16. Dad had me, 16F. Together they have my brother Logan, 8. My mom and James and Bree's dad died before our parents married. The blending process was not easy. James was clearly never happy about it, even less happy about it when Logan came around, and 3 years ago, after years of him just being angry and a jerk to everyone, they pulled us all into family therapy to try and fix things. They had therapy with James before that. About 5 sessions in, James goes on a rant about how we are not his family. He doesn't give a crap about dad, me, or Logan, how he wouldn't shed a single tear if we were to drop dead right in front of him, how stepfamilies are crap, they are not positive or good things that happen in life, they're a sign of failure or a sign of death, and neither of those things are good. He said they're fake, just like Linda was crazy to think Logan was anything but a bastard child she had with some other guy who wasn't his dad. That he was never going to accept us as his family, because we're not his family. We weren't his blood, or even people he was raised with. He said it was disgusting, that they tried to pass it off as anything other than fake. Throughout this, the therapist tried to break it up. He sent me out of the room with Logan, but not before both of us heard some of it. I could also hear from the corridor once he started yelling. Logan probably could too. They actually ran over, because James refused to stop. He stood his ground and insisted on getting everything out. Told the therapist to go screw himself. 3 years later, James has nothing to do with us. And my dad and Linda have tried to make Logan forget about the stuff James said. He remembers some of it because it traumatized him badly. They have told him he's remembering wrong. James never said that stuff. He said he loves him and that he would always be his little brother and stuff like this. It's pretty screwed up. Say what you can to make him feel better, but don't convince him he's wrong and give him this false hope that James is out there loving and missing him. I told my dad I didn't agree with it, and he told me it's important to say it. But it's the only way Logan and James will be able to have a relationship one day. I got so annoyed the other day when Logan had a nightmare about what happened and Dad said he must have had a bad dream about it initially and that's why he remembers wrong. I told my dad he was failing my brother. I told him he should be ashamed. I want him to be. I want him to help my brother with therapy, with reassurances that aren't just straight up lies and make-believe. And Bree has told me James feels the same still, she talks to him secretly, so it is false hope. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You're wise beyond your years. Your dad may be, I hope, well-intentioned, but lying about what happened creates its own trauma. Logan isn't stupid, and he wasn't a baby at the time. He knows what happened. Your dad's pretending otherwise says to Logan, 1. You can't trust me, 2. You can't trust your own memory, 3. Your trauma isn't important to me, so I'm just going to ignore it. If there's any way at all to get Dad and Elle back to therapy, any decent therapist will say the same. And maybe it would help Elle work through some of this crap. James and Logan are never going to have a relationship. Full stop. James is never going to come over and beg forgiveness want this family. To put this lie into Logan's head is dangerous and outright cruel to him. What is he going to say in 16 years when Logan seeks out James thinking it's his long-lost big bro and James tells him to go screw himself? Does he think Logan will thank him for it? Not the idiot and stick close to Logan, he's going to need someone in his corner. From your comments about the things that your parents are telling Logan about being a family and his brother loving him, I wonder if James' feelings come from that same place. Your parents, specifically your stepmom, trying to replace his dad with your dad and putting on this facade of we're one big perfect happy family again. And look, you have new perfect siblings, too. Instead of addressing his real feelings about the family combining and navigating a new family life as a young adult. My fiancé, 28, and I, 30, are marrying next year. My sister, 27, sings at a band and they often do weddings and wetnets. So she told us to have her band play at our wedding. My fiancé told her we think about it. I didn't care much about it since we still have plenty of time to decide. But my wife later confessed me she doesn't like the idea at all. According to her, my sister has the bad habit of stealing the spotlight. Something I can agree with. The day we announced our engagement to my family basically took over the whole meal, talking non-stop. My fiancé thinks that singing at our wedding will turn into one more way for her to become the protagonist of the event. Instead of dancing and listening to a random singer, all our relatives will be paying attention to her on stage. I forgot about the issue until sister brought it up again. I want our wedding to be just as my fiancé wishes, so I told my sister I actually would rather to not having you working on my wedding, just dancing and drinking with the rest of us. She insisted that she really would love to sing though. I thought the best idea would be to clear that up right there. Because she's really stubborn when she's set on something. So I told her no, we prefer to have a random band or DJ, that we want her to be one more guest. Sister is now super pissed at us for preferring to give our money to a stranger instead of her, not letting her participate, and not doing something about my fiancé always disliking her. My fiancé has never openly disliked her, so I didn't know she'd noticed. Parents think I was a bit of an idiot because of that too. My fiancé is glad I stopped her. Am I the idiot? Your sister asked, and you said no, you'd rather have her as a guest. She didn't accept your answer and got really pushy about it. Just tell her you have some favorite songs that you enjoy hearing from the singers who released them if you go with a DJ, and that you decided you'd rather have your sister as a guest. Your wedding isn't something she should look at like a lost money event anyways. You were absolutely correct to be straightforward and blunt with your stubborn sister. This gives her time to get over it, and if she can't, oh well. It's simply not her day, it's yours and your fiancé's day. This is your wedding, you guys should do things the way you wanted. When my wife and I got married, my wife's cousin, F, is the middle child, older sister is an ER doctor, and younger brother is an executive of a Fortune 500 company and craves attention. She wanted to sing or give a speech at our wedding. My wife told her no, after my brother gave the best man speech and her friend gave the maid of honor speech, her cousin somehow got the mic and gave an speech. We were like, what the hell? After the wedding, my wife went to the videographer and asked him to delete every scene or clip her cousin is in. Not the idiot, because eventually, it might have turned into I didn't get to have fun because I had to work at the wedding. But, to shut her down and prevent any escalation, is there a way, assuming she's any good, that you could incorporate a song from her into the ceremony? Family often sing hymns during church weddings, and if yours is not in a church, is there a non-religious song that might go with the theme of the ceremony? I speak to my mom occasionally. We're not close though. Not since she married her husband Rick when I was 11. He was a domineering idiot who thought because he was a man he could get what he wanted. He wanted a wife and kids. He couldn't have kids of his own, and he saw the widowed mom of an 11-year-old daughter perfect for him. And he was pissed when I said no to him adopting me. He called me a jerk when I called him an idiot for trying to intimidate my high school boyfriend. We were 15. When I was 18 he wanted me to consent to an adult adoption and change of my last name because I was going to college and he wanted his name carried on. I said no. He told me I owed him for being my dad. I told him he wasn't. I told him he wasn't half the man my dad was. He told me to get my idiot butt out of his house. I have refused anything to do with him since. And distanced myself from mom because of it. But I never cut her off because it always felt like she protected me somewhat. She didn't change my last name despite his many attempts to get her to, and she never forced the adoption, which again he tried to force. However, now that I am a mom, she wants to be part of my life more. We talk a little more. She wanted to come and meet my son, but I told her she wasn't welcome in my house if she brings her husband. She was upset but said she understood. My grandma told me I can't make ultimatums like that. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You're not asking her to divorce him. You're not asking her not to love him. You're saying a healthy boundary about your home and your family. And she can decide whether or not she wants to spend a little time away from him in order to have our relationship with you and her grandchild. More importantly, keep doing what you're doing, protecting your child from that type of personality. Just like how your mother allowed a toxic man into your life and emotionally abuse you, when it comes to your children, yes you can make ultimatums. You don't want a toxic and emotionally and verbally abusive man around your child. Just because your mother wanted to expose her child, to it doesn't mean you need to do the same. If she's hesitant on your ultimatum then she's only proving that her toxic husband is more important and wants his influence to continue to be a presence in you and your child's life. You don't have to have any association with someone you dislike that strongly. You set a perfectly reasonable boundary that your mom can come visit, but her husband can't. You know, because he is an idiot, that he will stomp all over that boundary. So just be prepared that when she is invited, you have the door locked so she doesn't just wander in with him, and check the peephole. If he is there, then you don't open the door. Same as meeting in a neutral place, for lunch or the like. If he is there, or walks in with her, you leave. I'm a 34-year-old woman, and my 3 children are 12, 9, 7. My husband is a 35-year-old man. A couple weeks ago we went on a trip to visit some historical sites in several countries in Europe, basically like a road trip. My husband had a terrible headache on the 4th day of our trip, so he stayed at the hotel, while our children and I went to a dolmen. When we got there my children were a bit bored, so I let them run around and play for a bit. There weren't a lot of people, so they were not bothering anyone, and then my 9-year-old climbed on one of the boulders of the dolmen. He looked so proud of himself when he managed to climb up, so I wanted to take a photo of him, but then a girl, around 19 I'd say, walked up to me and sarcastically asked, "Do you let your kids climb on their grandparents' graves like that too?" Needless to say, I got a bit angry and told her to mind her own business and said that a 5,000-year-old dead guy wouldn't mind it if a child climbs on a rock. Her face looked like I'd just killed a puppy in front of her, and she walked away. When we got back to the hotel I told my husband about it, and he said that it's a bit tasteless to let someone climb on what's essentially a gravestone. I got mad because he wouldn't support me and undermined me in front of the children like that. I went to the bathroom where I called my sister to tell her what happened. She said that the girl shouldn't have approached me like that, but that I was also wrong for the way I responded to her. I told her that the girl was out of line talking to someone that's older than her like that, and I hung up. It's been a couple weeks now and it just hasn't been sitting right with me. I've been thinking that maybe I am the idiot, and I guess I can see why someone would see a dolmen as a grave. So, am I the idiot for letting my child climb on a rock? You're the idiot. I had to go look up what a dolmen is, but you are the idiot for letting your kid climb on that. It is clearly a thing with ritual significance, and they also look somewhat precarious, like lot of people climbing on them could topple them. You are also the idiot for thinking that she couldn't call you out on letting your kids climb a tomb because she happens to be younger than you. Even old people get to be called out when they do stupid crap. It's a historical site, not a playground. It's also pretty much the same thing as a grave, and yes, it is disrespectful to have your children climbing all over it. Secondly, you saying, well, she's younger than me, so she shouldn't have said anything is absolute drivel. What nonsense. She took you to task because, even though you're older than her, you didn't have the good sense or grace to keep your children from climbing on things they've no business climbing. You're not entitled to do whatever you want without reproach just because you're older than some people. You're raising your children to become permanent idiots that just get to do whatever they feel like and then come up with horrid excuses for why nobody should ever give them a hard time. Teaching them that when your husband mildly calls you out on obvious selfish behavior is undermining is maybe the worst thing you've done here, but teaching them that the responsible young woman was out of line simply because you're older is also terrible. These kids are going to grow up incredibly entitled and closed-minded if this story is any indication. You're the idiot big time. You do not let your children climb on any kind of historical marker, let alone someone's gravesite. You are the kind of parent who makes my job a nightmare some days. Just because someone is younger than you does not mean they are wrong. She had every right to confront you as you were literally letting your kids climb on a gravesite. Personally, I wish an employee had seen it and issued a citation and eviction. Yep, you are the idiot and you are teaching your children to be disrespectful to our monuments. Good job, Mom.